Ready? Welcome to our first ever Recruiter Insider sessions, the RI sessions, as we're calling them. I'm Angela Cripps, the MD of the Recruiting Gym. This is Justin Hillier of Recruiter Insider. Hello, Justin. How are you today?
Honestly, Angela, I'm tired. I've been up since 4:30, but I'm excited to be here.
Great way to start. What you'll learn with Justin is you will get the blunt, honest truth out of him.
I'll just say it how it is.
Exactly.
So if I do fall asleep halfway through it, that's my reason.
Well, that will be my fault if you fall asleep. So that one will come back
I'm
on
hoping
me.
I don't put myself to sleep. That's more important than anything else, or anyone else to sleep.
You know what? Hiring managers and benchmarking, that's what the topic is today that we're going to be covering. So just to give you a quick overview, we're looking at feedback analysis on hiring managers and how they're performing within that company, but also against the rest of the industry. So that benchmarking bit. How that the information actually helps everyone to make more placements, which is what we want. Whether you're in-house or whether you're agency, we all need more placements, and we have realized, well, actually we always knew, the hiring managers have such an impact on this. So that's why we're delving into it, and also how then you can help stand out from your competitors. So 3 key elements here. And you know what? I got an email yesterday saying I'm starting a recruitment business. I need a benchmark for this, this, and this. And I was like, you know what? I haven't got that, but come along tomorrow because we happen to be doing that. And also yesterday, I did a training session. I'm going to be doing loads of training over the next year or so with hiring managers on how to interview. I can't say the company, unfortunately, but how amazing. This is the thing of the moment, from my point of view anyway. So Justin, let's just go back a little bit and share with everyone how we met, because you were based in Melbourne. I'm here in the UK.
I was, yes. Interesting story. So, yeah, I was based in Australia at the time. I'm in London these days, moved at the start of this year. But I put myself forward for the best way to describe it would be like a reality TV kind of show for the recruitment industry called, what was it called? Top Recruiter. I think it had a different name the season that we did. But
we were
yeah,
the
I put
movement,
myself
yeah.
forward.
It was called Top Recruiter the
The
year before.
movement, yes. So yeah, I put myself forward as a candidate or a contestant, and the concept I had for Recruiter Insider at the time. This is back in 2017, I think.
It was 7 years.
And yeah, it was a long time ago, and I got accepted and got into it. One of 8 people, I think it was, 8 or 9 that got into this kind of competition. Where we firstly had to, and it was outside of outside of London somewhere. I can't remember exactly where we were. Oh, Ledbury. Came back to me. We're in this nice castle out in Ledbury for a few days filming all of this. But yeah, we had to do a 2-minute pitch first up, and I'll never forget this, Angela. You'll never forget this either. I did this 2-minute pitch, and it wasn't great. I know that. Questions came firing at me, and I was my typical smart-ass self, firing back responses. And when I saw the edit at the end, Angela said, "Yeah, look, he's a nice guy, but he's just not that likable." Something along those lines.
They freeze framed it with my picture with the writing across it. You're just not that.
He's just not likable. It was this little screen moment, right? And it was totally taken out of context with everything else. Yeah, nice. So, but yeah, I scraped through to the second round. I think more so out of pity than anything else.
Well, no, we loved the idea. We could see the benefit. We couldn't see everyone else's. We loved the company idea. It was just you battering.
Yeah, it was just me. Yeah, look, I didn't pitch it all that well, and it was a concept at that stage. To be fair, as well, it wasn't a product as it is now. So it was very much a concept, and the concept could have gone in any direction. And I didn't have that down pat as well as what I probably would have liked at the time, especially heading into that. But yeah, scraped to the second round, got some coaching from yourself, which was fantastic.
Allocated as your coach, and do you know what? I'm going to say this bit now. You smashed it on the second round. It was like a head-to-head with one of the other people who happened to be the other person. I got 2 allocated, and it was the other person that you were up against, who came top in the first round. And yes, you got through, but you were bottom. And after that, you smashed that second round head to head like a debate, and everyone came up
Yep.
to me afterwards and went, "What the hell? Where did that come from?" And so you'd taken on the learning. That's what I loved. You might not have been that likable, but you took on the learning, you listened, and you smashed it. Now, you didn't then get through, and the guy that did,
Yeah.
who I coached, did actually win it. And Glenn, I
He
think
won
you
the
said
whole thing, so I wasn't too disappointed. I remember
no.
getting up. It was Glyn Blaze, who had North Star at the time, and yeah, I remember we stood up at the end of it and shaked hands, and he's turned around to me. Everyone's clapping and cheering and all the rest of it, all for camera stuff. But he's turned around to me and going, "Yeah, you absolutely just killed me." Like, yeah, sorry, mate.
It
I
was. It
mean,
was amazing. Shock on
to be
everyone's face
perfectly,
as well.
yeah, to be perfectly honest, I wasn't. It didn't surprise me. I know I have that ability. It was just more so getting the message right, which I didn't have at the time. Had I got the message right in the first round, who knows what might have happened. But look, that experience was obviously that's where we met 7 odd years ago, and you've come on board as an advisor to the business pretty much ever since. I remember asking you at the event, and the product's gone from what was a concept and what was supposed to be this, well, I thought at the time, this small little compact product that had a couple of bells and whistles, to measuring in really depth, great depth and detail, right throughout the hiring process, the relationships that agencies, consultants have with candidates and clients, as well as their own employees. And looking at all of this, looking at all of it from a performance perspective and a skills improvement. So one of the first kind of taglines, or the purpose of why I started this whole thing in the first place, was I had a really crappy call from a recruiter.
Mm.
And they actually picked up the phone and said to me, "Right, so I found your profile on LinkedIn. I want to talk to you about a job. But before I tell you anything about the job, I think you're too experienced. I think you're too senior. I think the salary is going to be below your expectations." Like, okay, if this is reverse psychology, I'm the worst person to do that with, because it's going to backfire on you immediately. I asked the third question. So basically, this consultant had already found 2 strikes. So it was my job now to find the third, which was the industry. And they said, "Oh, it's in finance," of which I have no experience whatsoever. But I got off that call. Obviously, it was just a dreadful call. I'm thinking that was the worst experience I've ever come across. Is this, what on earth was that? And it made me want to actually, to be truth be told, and I've told this story a few times. At the time, I was actually in between jobs. I just got back from the golf course that day and got this call. And I said to myself, "No, I'm getting out of recruitment. That's it." I was 16 years or something at that time, and there was nothing else I really wanted to do. I'd pretty much done it all and worked for all the big companies in Australia at the time as well. And thought, right, I want to do something different. But geez, that call was bad. That candidate experience was bad. And I've always been big on candidate experience. And I'm like, "No, this is not my problem to solve. I'm going to do something else." But it just bugged me like nothing else. And I went to bed that night, couldn't sleep, got up the next morning, had a shower, and the cliche light bulb moment came to me. And Recruiter Insider was literally kind of designed, or at least the first iteration was designed, in 5 or 10 seconds. And I had to get out of the shower, draw it all up, and write it down, and then spoke to a few people and gone, "Hey, have you seen anything like this before?" And like, "No, that's quite unique." Gone, "Yeah, I hope so." And here we are today with what is something that I didn't even envisage of how big it would get 7, 8 years down the track.
Wow. Yeah, no, it's amazing. It's one of those serendipity, closing sliding door moments. I don't know, but something brought you into my life. And when I heard that first pitch, I got it straight away, because as a recruiter, I used to do not all of this, because I know it's amazing now, but the initial part of it, the feedback from the candidates and the clients at the initial interview stage, when the consultants interviewing them, when they've been put forward to a job, and then when they're placed. We used to have a feedback form for each of those stages, and we would get feedback. We would put it all together probably once a quarter, analyze the data, what's it telling us, and all the rest of it, and we'd do service reviews with our clients. So I was bought into this. I knew how powerful this was, and there wasn't another company out there that was doing that. So I wanted to latch onto it straight away and promote it as much as possible. So for full disclosure, yeah, I'm full in on Recruiter Insider. Now, what we're going to talk about today, obviously, if you've got Recruiter Insider and you're not using this data, then yeah, you should be, and that hopefully will prompt it. But it doesn't matter. if you've got the or not, because it's about doing it for yourself and identifying, and the information that you're sharing today, people will be able to use with their candidates, with their clients, to have those conversations. So first and foremost, then, why is it that we are actually measuring this in the first place?
Why are we measuring the candidate experience, or measuring specifically the experience candidates have with hiring managers?
I mean, I think we all know the candidate experience is really important. We've been talking about it for years, and if you're bought into it, fantastic.
Yeah, I might challenge you on that. I think, and I'm obviously 110%, a million miles bought into candidate experience. And the data shows us it has a huge impact on placement outcome. I'm not sure every agency believes it, but it's true. You can't deny it. Some of the data I'm going to share today is fundamentally undeniable. It's black and white. And I say this tagline or this phrase to our clients all the time, and it almost feels like it's not my phrase anymore. They've stolen it and repeated back to me constantly. The data doesn't lie. And it shows us time and time again the impact it has. So why are we measuring the impact the hiring manager has on the outcome and that candidate experience? We've been doing it for about 3 years now. We added it into the platform. That was actually about 3.5 years ago. And it was a gap we identified in the process that wasn't getting picked up, that we always wanted to add in. And the reason we wanted to do it was, you always want to be that fly on the wall. You want to be that person, ideally, in that room to see really what is going on between the candidate and the hiring manager. Because what typically happens, and I used to do this as a recruiter, that interview finishes. 10 minutes after, you're hoping to get the call from the candidate, or you're calling them. How did it go? What did you think? All the typical questions. And then eventually you'll get a hold of the hiring manager that day, hopefully that week, maybe not, and get their feedback as well. But you're getting two different sides of the story, and they're telling you their point of view, which is great. But what I've seen and constantly still see is agencies who aren't measuring this as we kind of do, that information gets lost. So that conversation between the candidate and the consultant goes absolutely nowhere. It doesn't get put into an ATS. Any of those notes that they could have been taking don't get uploaded as well. So you lose this whole lot of data. So we wanted to put a step in our process that picked up 5 key things, or measured 5 key areas, as to the hiring manager and what they're providing in that interview, keeping it broad, but also kind of specific at the same time, a balance between the two. To understand what's going on. And what we've seen in the data is that, yes, a consultant has impact on placement outcome when they interview the candidate, but the hiring manager is far, far, far greater. And if you think about it, it kind of makes sense, because that's the person you're going to be working with. That's the employer who's going to be paying your salary every fortnight, monthly, or whatever it is. So understanding that and that relationship, which is what we're really focused on, that first impression. Do they want to work there after that first impression, that first experience? And the data is fascinating. So that's why we're measuring it, because we also, and I say this to all of our clients frequently, we make the assumption that hiring managers know what they're doing in an interview. They don't. Absolutely don't.
Hence why I've been doing a lot of training this year with in-house company. Oh, I've got a lovely... It's just blended me out. Let's see if this works. No, it will come back.
I can't see you, but so yeah, I ask our clients often, like, do you prepare the candidate for interview? Everyone puts their hands up. Yes, of course we do. Are you nuts? What kind of question is that? I already knew the answer, but I ask it for the second question, which is, how many of you prepare the hiring manager for interview?
Exactly.
And everyone sits there in bemusement, like, what? Why would we do that?
They may never have been trained in interviews and competency-based interviewing, profiling their company, selling their company.
It's the selling component that's huge. And we see that in the data. The selling side of it is massive. So yeah, we make that assumption that, they're the hiring manager. So I've been explaining to our clients that, no, you need to be doing this. Don't make the assumption they know what they're doing, and set the scene from the very start. Ask them, when you're collecting the job brief, how many times in the last 12 months have you interviewed? How would you rate yourself? Exactly. 1. the candidate's more experienced than the hiring manager.
Yeah, and the
Potentially when they
recruiter
go in there.
is the expert in this. I mean, we're
Yep.
doing probably 2 interviews a day, 10 a
Yep.
week. So,
Yep.
yeah, you're at 500 to 1,000 a year. So when they say 1 and you've done 500, you can then see, well, wait a minute, yeah, I should be briefing you. I should be supporting you. I must admit, that was always something that I was selling. Might stand you out from your competitors is one thing that we're trying to
Yep.
aim for here as well, is to actually sell to the client, as long as it's worth it and the money and the return's going to be there, that you actually support the hiring managers with the interviewing. You do joint interviews if necessary. I used to love that. Get them all done in one day. Yes, it'd be a day out of your business. You'd get all the interviews done. You'd really be the fly on the wall because you'd be there and you'd be helping, you're supporting, and you would get the offer and everything organized in the one day. How brilliant is that? That's worth your time and effort, I think, if it's going to be a good placement, or it's a client you're trying to get into, or it's a key account, whatever. But how often are we offering that? Because we are the experts in interviewing.
Yep. Hey, what's the job title most people have in the industry? What's the most common job title?
Recruitment consultant.
Yeah. And it's that second part that we miss out on every single time. We don't consult. And this is how you can do that. But I don't think you can just go to the hiring manager and go, right, we need to teach you how to interview. That's going to go down like a lead balloon.
Yeah.
You need to go to them with something that actually shows that no, and set the scene. And that's why I've been explaining and educating our clients. I've asked them how many times they've interviewed in the last 12 months. Because as soon as you find out it's 0, 1, or 2, you're right. We've done hundreds of these through the year. They've done 1. How would you rate your confidence on interviewing? How do you understand candidates' expectations today? Because it is different than 3, 4, 5 years ago. Position those questions, get that understanding, go, right, well, here's what we know, and start showing them some of this data that shows, well, if you don't get this right, this is going to be the repercussion. And that's that consulting aspect.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good time to actually bring in to show some of this. So what impact do hiring managers actually have on the candidate experience and the placement outcome? So let me bring onto the screen and I'll focus it actually. So we'll go small. A dashboard from Recruiter Insider. So I know this is your baby. Far away.
It is. Yep. So this is my baby. So yeah, instead of making that assumption, instead of just going, hey, we need to train you, giving them some insight into the impact they could potentially have if they get this wrong. And this is all dummy data on the screen, by the way. I can't show you real data from our clients. It's obviously privacy reasons, and they'd kill me, I think. But this is dummy data, but this is what our clients are looking at when they go to one of our dashboards. It's the My Clients dashboard. So you can see there's a number of different menu items at the top. It's under client service there. This main dashboard has, to begin with, just how many candidate client interviews you've had, how many clients that was with, and reviews that resulted out of the back of that. So you can see the kind of activity going on. But these graphs, these following graphs next to this, are the most important data points on the whole entire platform. So this first graph, what it's actually showing is the candidate, after they've interviewed with the hiring manager, reviews that experience on 5 questions. And these are the 5 questions, just in short form, so they fit on this table below. So was the hiring manager prepared for the interview? Did they articulate the role and responsibilities? Did they describe the benefits of working for the company? And the next one is culture, and how that candidate would fit in and explaining the culture. And did they show interest in the answers and experience? Now, we score all of this out of 100. The 5 questions are aggregated for an overall score out of 100, and each question is scored out of 100 with a 5-star rating that we do, and a half point or half-star, full-star differential. So it's just some basic math. But this first pie graph, this one fascinates me. We've added this into the platform recently, but we've been looking at it for a little while now. What it shows is that the candidates who accept offers, what was their experience like at the interview stage with the hiring manager? And looking at that experience within bandwidths of scores, 90 to 100, 80 to 90, 70, 80, etc. What we saw last quarter in the UK is that the average agency across the board would have candidates accepting offers somewhere around 79% of the time. pretty high, is that 90 to 80 bandwidth. But when the experience at that interview stage and accepting the offer dropped to 80 to 90, only 10% of candidates were accepting offers.
Oh my God. So huge drop for actually not a lot of different.
Not a difference in score, but a
Wow.
drop off in acceptance. Now, it goes a step further. Let me just make sure I can get the right data. I've got some data points written down here.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Here we go. Place candidates. So our top agencies on the platform, the ones who provide the absolute best candidate experience, their score of candidates accepting offers when the score is between 90 to 100 and the experience they had with the client at interview, that is actually 91% conversion versus the platform average of 79. Their 80 to 90 bandwidth barely appears. It's single digits. So they are working with their clients because they've seen this and understand we've got to get this right ourselves. We've got to get our clients right. So that's a 16% better performance than the average. Their fill rate on the back of that is actually 31% compared to the average of 22. It's a 40% improved performance on fill rates.
Gosh. So again, just taking the time, one, to brief the client and have the conversation, but to share data like this to explain the impact that they're having if they haven't worked it out themselves. And whenever we say it, everyone goes, duh, yeah, but they don't do anything about it.
They don't know. And that's the thing, right? We also, I put this up on LinkedIn. I've been bashing on about this for a few weeks now because this data to me is just absolutely phenomenal. I actually tagged cheekily Greg Savage in this, one of the posts recently, and said, hey, Greg, what do you think of this? He's gone, you know what? We always knew that this was kind of the case, but I've never seen empirical data on it before. So you can, and this is what we get back to all the time, is you can say that you're great and you can say that you're this and that and all the rest of it, but if you can't prove it, you're going on gut feel every time. We think this is what happens, but we also don't know why. And this kind of leads into that. So all the reviews, you see the reviews, these are all dummy reviews, of course, but the reviews coming back in, I could look at this top one here and go, right, 60, 60, 60, 60, 60, that, pretty poor across the board. But I might have one down the bottom here where culture hasn't been explained great and the benefits haven't been explained great. I now know why that candidate isn't going to accept the offer at the end of the day because these points weren't hit. So that's on accepting the offer and based on their experience at the interview stage with the client. This next graph is just as critically important. It's looking at the same data, but just from a different lens. So this is the percentage of jobs that are filled based on that same experience from the interview stage. What we typically see across the UK is that the bandwidth, 90 to 100, jobs convert about 40 to 40% of the time when it's in the 90 to 100 range. When it's 80 to 90, only 20 to 25% of jobs are filled.
Right. So yeah, it's just dropping all the time, isn't it? But it's
70
a big
to 80. Yeah, it's 70 to 80. It's about 10 to 15% on average each quarter. Now, our top 5 clients, their 90 to 100 bandwidth of conversion to fill is 75. The average is 44.
I was going to say, I mean, as a perm consultant, if you're looking at the permanent side, and I know you've got the temp and the exec search side on here as well, but if we just dive into the perm side, we tend to think of 50-50, depending on your business. If your business is all aimed at exclusive or retained, then obviously it's going to be nearer the 100. But if you're a typical 360 recruiter working with 20, 30, 40 clients, a year, then 50-50, 50% fill rate is probably what you're aiming for. But we know that the average is actually lower than that. So it's these companies that have got this bit right. 75% fill rate on perms is wonderful.
75 when that experience at the previous stage with the client is between 90 to 100. They're filling 75% of the jobs. Compared to 44% of the average. That's a 64% better performance. That's
straight away. So if you're targeted with 100,000 for the year, so that's your first year, means you're more likely to make 164,000. Just put it into numbers.
Exactly. Yeah,
straight away.
and it all comes down to this score right here. So this is what we look at. This is the average now of that experience the candidate has across those 5 questions. The platform average last quarter, let me get it here, was 92.91. 92.91. Not too bad. It's in that upper bracket. But the top agencies, their client score is 95.74. Now, that may not sound like a big difference. It's just under 3%. But we do 0.01, 0.02, as you can see here, 82.74. That's almost 300 points of difference in impact of the experience. And it clearly shows that also when that experience, all the other data points that I've just shared, when it's 90 to 100 versus 80 to 90, it falls off a cliff in conversion to placement. That score has to be as high as possible. 92 is actually almost too low. So yeah, it's I don't know how you can deny that this doesn't have an impact at the end of the day. Every data point I look at just clearly shows our clients who are working with their clients to get this right, the top agencies, and I measure the top agencies on a platform by the ones who are providing the best candidate experience themselves, who are then obviously working with their clients thereafter. And we know this as well, but yeah, and it's the top 5. I didn't go out anything beyond that. The top 5 agencies on the platform. They're killing it, absolutely killing it, and we get that feedback from them as well.
Yeah, so straight away we can see make more placements, which means make more money. But it's the intangibles as well. That the aim of the company was set up because of candidate experience, and also straight away they're obviously having a better experience all the way through the process. The fact that the consultant can go back specifically to the client and say, this is the area that is scoring the lowest, so please make your hiring managers aware that this is something they need to add in to their process. Then you're helping everyone along the way by getting this feedback. And as I say, whether you do it automatically through this process or whether you do it manually yourself, yes, it's going to take some time, but we know the benefits of it. You can see you're going to make a lot more money, so it's definitely worth doing either way, because it's going to make a difference, and it's going to give you that confidence to talk to the hiring managers about the process, about what they do, about any support that they need, because you say it's in my benefit to help you as much as possible to do a good job in the hiring interview. I'm here for you. What do you need? That's the consultant bit of it, finding out where you can help, but at least you've got something, data to back it up. In relation to that, we probably need to put these stats in there as well, or actually we can get to your post, because like you say, you've been posting lots of this data all over. So I've put your LinkedIn in there. We'll grab a couple of your posts that share this.
Yeah, it's all over LinkedIn. And you said something there at the start there, Angela, about value. And it's interesting when you look at data and trying to understand. Of course, businesses are largely run on data in the first place, but it's become much more prevalent, obviously, in the last 5-10 years. Understanding, is this data going to be valuable to us? And I look at how you kind of measure that from 4 different aspects. What do you know now that you didn't know before? So if you're getting this feedback come in and you're seeing hiring managers are performing poorly, that allows you to do something. You didn't know that before. You didn't know that's why you're not filling jobs. So what can you do now that you couldn't do before? Well, you can go have a chat with them. You can go show them this is why candidates are not accepting offers with you. This is the feedback that they're getting. And now all of a sudden you're ticking that consultant box and offering market intelligence and insights and standing out from everyone else as well. And then that obviously will have a direct impact on revenue. So that tangible, we can put a finger on, yep, it's delivered this value. And then, as you said before, it's those intangibles of reputation and different insights and differentiating that you can bring to the table as well.
Yeah. I mean, we wanted to make sure that people could use this to stand out from their competitors. So, okay, if you haven't got the data yet, you can use the data to stand out from your competitors. Say, look, this is something we look into, we monitor in the marketplace. We know the impact that this has, and we want to share that with you. And it could be a discussion with HR or whoever the stakeholders are around what are you doing to skill up your hiring managers, because if you're spending all this money getting to that point, you're even getting to the offer, think of that, all the way through. And then we know that if they haven't had a good experience with the hiring manager, they're more likely to turn it down. You're going to go all that way through, spend all that money, time, and resource, and get a negative result at the end of it because of just that bit that was missing, which is potentially training your hiring managers to do good interviews and to make sure that they're giving a positive experience, whether they take the job or not, whether they get offered the job or not. That was always the thing,
well, that'll impact your reputation, right? And one of the things I say a lot to our clients as well is if your main contact in your client is head of HR, head of TA, recruitment director, whatever their job title is, the one thing they love more than anything else and can't get their hands on enough that helps them validate their role in the company is data. And you're giving them data on something that they don't have insight into at the moment on their own business, and you can benchmark them at the same time. They fall over backwards. They love you. It's like, oh my God, where's this been all my life?
So let's just explore that benchmarking a little bit more then, because I was thinking about it from an industry point of view, but you're then saying the managers. So just explain that.
Yeah, so we have the ability, obviously, we automate all of this, and it's all tech that does all this in the background. But you can literally benchmark a hiring manager experience of one client versus their competitors. So that's just one of the features on our platform. It's literally up here. I'll just show the menu item here very quickly, client benchmarking, where it has a look at the experience candidates are having at the interview stage and post-placement. And you choose whatever companies you want that you also work with to compare to on the right. And it produces a report that pulls it into a PDF that benchmarks all of these questions that the candidate is reviewing the client against at the interview stage and post-placement, but also benchmarks these two graphs here as well and shows that because of that experience they're having, what jobs are being accepted, what percentage of jobs are converting based on that interview experience, and what's happening post-placement that could be impacting retention as well. So you're going to them with this. Yeah, it's up to 30 different data points. Well, actually, including these two graphs here now that we've just recently added into that report as well. It's like close to 40 data points that you're sharing with them. And it's a nice, pretty PDF. But you've got this report, bang, you don't have to do anything. Click a couple of buttons, it's done. Take it to them, and they fall over backwards. They've never seen anything like this before.
Well, I must admit, I mean, I'm sort of pitching this that obviously we're going to share Recruiter Insider because it's beautiful and it's lovely to do. But you can do all this by spreadsheets. But that bit, I'm thinking,
yeah, you can do it all via spreadsheets, but good luck.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I could see me doing the other stuff and the amount of time and effort it took, but it was great. I loved it, and I loved the data it gave me and the conversations we could have. But that bit, I just suddenly thought, oh God, that's taking it to another level. So
we've been speaking to a global agency, and they've been trying to do just little parts of what we do and measuring the experience. And they've identified we can't do this at scale. There's absolutely no chance, even for the small part of the business that they're trying to do this on, and a small part of the process, like not a chance. They've been trying to use automation within their ATS spreadsheets and everything. And the global candidate experience manager has sat there and just got, we really can't do it. So yeah, they've been talking to us. They've seen this and gone, so we just have to add everyone into the platform and it'll do it all. I'm like, yep. Produce reports, click of a button, done. You don't have to think about it.
Lovely PDF that you can share with your client that's benchmarking.
I'll just show you quickly. This client benchmarking to me is fascinating. I think this is the most powerful way to use this data as well. So I'm just going to go through. I'll just choose. We've got Tesla here, and it's going to benchmark them to everyone on the right, just as an example. You could go through and choose particular companies that are in the same industry, parent-child companies, etc. But then I just produce the screen report first, which has all those different 30 data points that's benchmarking the interview stage, post-placement stage, etc. And then I just click Create PDF.
And black is average, red isn't great.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, green is obviously above, red is below, black is within 1% either way.
Lovely. Thanks.
So then we have this PDF here that's got those conversion to placement based on experience. So those two graphs that we saw on the previous dashboard, pulls that in the first page and benchmarks them. how they're performing versus their competitors, and then each of those different stages of the process benchmarked and coloured for the agency in their brand as well. But you've just got a 6-7 page report there. You can take out to the client straight away. Here's how you're performing. Here's what the market's doing. Here's how you can compare to your competitors. Incredibly powerful, and it's all off candidate feedback and the feedback that the candidate is giving on the client, the hiring managers, etc. So that's why we're measuring this as well, to go back to your first question. So you can go back to the client with real insights, something tangible, and go, right, here's where your gaps are. And that's your consulting piece. We've identified this. If you improve this, have a look at what your competitors are doing. Have a look at what the industry is doing. Here's the benchmark. So it's really powerful. Oh, have we lost you, Angela? I can't hear you all of a sudden.
Sorry, when I'm tapping and like replying to comments and things, I put my mute on because otherwise the nails make quite a noise. So apologies for that. I was thinking of you mentioned earlier about after the process.
Yes.
And what impact it then has then on retention stats. So how are we helping them after they've been placed?
Yeah, so we do follow up post-placement with a very similar set of questions. So we are measuring these 5 questions here, and the questions we follow up with about 30 days after start, both on perm and contract, are very, very similar in nature, because we want to see that consistency and that the expectation that you've set, is it now reality? So we have an automated trigger in the platform that actually identifies a placement risk. That when the candidate are scoring, they score these 5 questions, again, out of 100. If they score that below 80, we notify the consultant straight away, hey, you've got a problem here. What we typically see is about 5% of jobs actually fall within that 80% below bracket. And when you think about you're not converting many in the 80 to 90 at the previous stage, that's a decent percentage that's coming through. So it allows you to jump on that and go, right, well, you set the expectation here of this, and now this is what you've delivered. So it's probably understandable that they've got a concern, and you certainly don't want that, but it allows you to jump on it.
And back to the actual consultant piece as well, because yes, you want to gather as much information as possible to make the right hires for them, but you also are there to support the business, to help the business grow, because that's in your best interest. It will mean that you've got more placements to make. But sometimes that does mean pointing out the bad bits as well and the development areas. And those difficult conversations, a lot of consultants shy away from. They're great about the positives and the growth, and let's talk about all of that. But when there's an issue, it's human nature, isn't it? A lot of people, I know you're not, you just
afraid to yeah.
As we've appreciated, you are in the minority there. Most people will shy away from having that conversation, and to have to either pick up the phone or go and sit in front of a client and tell them the negatives is really tough. But if you can produce a report and it's there in black and white or red and green, much easier to have that conversation.
Yeah. And this is so I get asked this question from our clients repeatedly. And what feedback have you had from your existing clients when they present this to their client? How do they react? So they actually react really well, because you're just presenting data. You're the one telling the story. You're not the one telling them that you're no good at describing the culture or the benefits or the job, or the culture's not what the candidate expected, or the hiring manager's not supporting them enough in the first 30 days. The candidates are the ones saying this. All you're doing is presenting that data back. So it's almost, if you are afraid of having those tough conversations, this is your get out of jail free card, because all you're doing is presenting information.
Yeah, it makes it so much easier, doesn't it, to have that conversation and to be able to pull that. Now, I did notice on people head to your LinkedIn profile that you've got a document on there, well, both for Australia and New Zealand, but the UK, I'm thinking of at the moment, the hiring manager insights from April to June. So you actually produce a report as well, giving all of this to help people. So that's in your featured, isn't it? People will be able to access that, How do they actually?
Yes.
Oh, it's on there, so they can just take it from there. Can they
Yeah. So
download it?
all the reports every quarter, I put together this report. It's about a 5-page report that has all these data points broken down per month and how the quarter performed, and a summary at the end of how I've looked at the data and understood some of it and see what's happening. So that's all downloadable from our website every quarter. I think the last 2.5 years or something is up on our website. So it's just under I think the resources tab. You can go there and download all the UK ones.
Yeah.
And check that out. And this is kind of industry information you can be sharing with your clients. Going, right, here's what's happening in the market. Here's what happened last quarter. This is why you need to get this right. The
I'm going to just
impact.
share that now if I can. Although it's not let me. It's saying I've got to ask you to stop. Oh no, to stop sharing. So don't worry about that. I'll bring yours
We'll do it
back.
later.
Yeah.
But yeah, recruiterinsider.com, up the top, I think there's a resources drop down. You'll find it, or a menu item. You'll find all the UK reports in there. That's great to be able to share some industry insights, which clients, it's one of the measures that we actually, when the hiring manager reviews the consultant at the end of the process, one of the questions they review them on is provided market intelligence. And typically it's a pretty poor performing question. This actually alleviates that you're sharing some really unique insights. And I know a lot of companies share LinkedIn insights, or the talent insights that they've got available too. This is probably going a step deeper into the actual process, not staff turnover or anything like that. It's here's where companies are getting it wrong. Here's where they're getting it right. I guess the benefit, without plugging RI completely, going, hey, you must use us, is that if you then measure it yourself, doing all this, you've got the data to go back to them and go, well, here's how now you're performing on all these elements, and here's how you're benchmarked to your competitors. So that's the real power of this.
Yeah, and I think that word is key, isn't it? It is really powerful, because you've not just got sort of the agency and the details from yourself, but yeah, doing it through you've got the whole industry. You've got UK, you've got Australia, New Zealand as well, that information around how everyone else is doing it. So now you're benchmarking by country as well if you need to.
Yeah, and we don't see a massive difference between the Australian market and the UK market. There are some small little tweak or differences here and there, but largely the two markets are pretty similar. So that also
Just the
tells me the
amount of
data.
British recruiters out there.
Yeah, look, if you go to Sydney, you'd struggle to find an Australian recruiter, to be fair. It's all Brits. I actually think I did this on our client base in Australia. I had a look at, just for my own fun, the owners or directors that are Australian. And I think it was something like less than 10% of my client base are actually Australian, which is pretty funny. It was just, I was bored one day, I think, and just did that.
This is you to a T, isn't it? Data is your life, data.
Yeah. And if you hadn't said that to me, it's 8 years ago, Angela. 8 years ago on Saturday, I came up with Recruiter Insider. If you said that to me 8 years and 5 days ago, that data is going to be what you focus on and what you live and breathe by, and blah blah blah, and you're going to build this platform that does all this, I would have absolutely laughed at you and said you are insane. But I just live and breathe this now. I think. When Greg Savage the other day said, "Yeah, we've always known this, but I've never seen any empirical data on it." I think that's also the key. We have this gut feel that this is the case, but we can't prove it. Being able to prove it makes a massive impact of what you can do thereafter.
So what are they good at, and what do they struggle with?
Hiring managers. Oh, look, the joke I usually go with is that they're not good at much. The data typically shows us that invariably across the. Hey, sorry.
I said, don't say that. We want them on our side. We need to work
No,
together.
absolutely. And look, but we make the assumption that they're really good at everything, right? Because they're the client, they're the hiring manager, they know the job, blah, blah, blah. But we should not be making assumptions. What we see, and this is consistent, I kid you not, every single quarter, doesn't matter where in the world we look at the data, every single quarter, the question, and these are the 5 questions at interview stage: culture and fit, explain to the candidate how they'd fit in and what the culture of the company is like, and the benefits of working for the business. Not one quarter in the last 2.5, 3 years or 3 and a bit years we've been measuring this, has those 2 questions at the end of a quarter scored above 90.
Oh,
Not once.
missing a trick, aren't they?
Not once. Not once have those
And they're so
questions,
easy
the
to
average
do.
score for the quarter, scored above 90. It's nuts. The third
Wow.
worst performing question is actually describing the job, articulating the role and responsibilities. Now, if we have a look at those three questions and think about what they actually mean when you're explaining it, you're pitching, you're selling the job. It's a sales pitch essentially to explain the job, articulate that, get the candidate interested. But also when you look at the culture and the benefits, it's the same kind of thing. Those three questions from that perspective are very, very similar. So it tells us that hiring managers are not great at pitching, explaining things that are kind of almost not especially intangible when we go to culture. Benefits, can be obviously more tangible. The role itself, that's scary that they get this, the third worst performing question. But they're not great at articulating that. So it's that pitch element that consultants, as we said earlier, 2 interviews a day, 10 a week, almost 500 plus a year. We are trained and practiced on this repeatedly. If you put a hiring manager in a room and go, right, pitch the job, pitch the culture, I actually don't think they know what the culture and the benefits are anymore. The work environment's changed so much also over the last 4 years.
Yeah,
So
that's true. So if you haven't done your company culture review or company values or your vision in a couple of years, or that's definitely one that needs focusing on, because what you thought is not
yeah,
true anymore.
yeah, and working from home is now not seen as a benefit; it's a must-have. So
Well,
saying,
we're having
"Hey,
that debate at the moment, aren't we?
that's probably a whole other session, yeah." But it's from a candidate's perspective, it's a must-have. It's not a benefit. It's I expect that regardless of what you are going to tell me. So that almost then falls on deaf ears. But if they haven't done a culture review, because if we've got 50-60% of people working from home half the week, that changes the culture of the company. So can they describe now what the culture is? Luckily, they do turn up for the interview prepared more
Yeah.
often than not, and they are very good, which I think is quite ironic, at the listening to the candidates, showing interest in their answers and their experience.
Yeah, but it is too much weighted towards the candidate and not towards selling the company. So I'm surprised, because 2022, I would have thought a lot of businesses appreciated the amount of choice that candidates had, and therefore
Yeah.
you've got to fight for them. But we still didn't see much of an uplift then, and it's still missing now. So knowing that
Yeah,
that's going to make the difference, easy
it's
win.
funny. It's funny because we consistently say that it's either a candidate market or it's a job market, employer market, and that depends on the market conditions, economic conditions, everything. I think regardless of any of that, it's always a candidate market. You can offer them the job, they can say no. So
Yeah, but during a recession, they tend to say that less because they
yeah,
don't
they
get
do.
the options. So they're like, "I'll take it, whatever it is. Yeah, just get me in the door."
Yeah,
And then,
absolutely. So there's always that. But what's interesting is that they've got other options. They can say no for whatever reason. But the data shows us that when that experience is better, they're accepting jobs.
well, of
So
course,
yeah,
yeah.
and the funny thing is we constantly say that the employees, the talent is our most important asset in the business. Yet we don't treat the candidates with the same level of respect at interview stage that we want to bring into the business. I think there's a bit of a disconnect there.
And there shouldn't be, should there? That's the thing. It should be all linked, and this is all consultative. I think that's going to be the word of the session, isn't it? To actually
Yes,
make sure.
absolutely. This
Um,
all having all allows you to go back and consult, which is the title.
Definitely, definitely. Okay. So we know, we can see the impact of securing talent. We know then again the following up afterwards and the retention, that they're going to stay longer if they've had a good process all the way through, because If they haven't, they might still accept the job. And this is back to the choice again, like you say. People forget that during those first few weeks, so 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, so especially around the 3 weeks point, anyone that's accepted a job has probably had something else in the pipeline. And
Yep.
maybe this one came up first, and that, yes, they wanted it, so yes, they've gone with it. But if there's any hesitation along the way, and that could be because of the way they've been treated in the interview process, it might now be sort of how that's now panning out for the rest of the 3 weeks they've been there. But if there's anyone that's been in the background, or there was another job they wanted, they're going to be chasing that. They're going to be going to other interviews just to see. So beware, hiring managers, those suddenly sick or running late or something's happened and I won't be until 11 in those first couple
Yep.
of weeks. Oh, red flag, red flag. Because they have got other options and there may be things. And then all of a sudden, they're leaving within those period of times. And therefore, you've got to make sure that all of this is as best as it can be to make it a great opportunity for that individual to do that. Was there anything else you wanted to show on there? Because if not, I wanted to show the
No,
document.
I'd probably just add to your point there of we know the saying first impressions count. Recruitment is constant first impressions. Every step of the process is someone different you're engaging with. The person who screens you, the consultant who interviews you, the client who interviews you, it might be HR, TA, second interview might be the hiring manager and then a director or team members. Then you get into the company, it's all your colleagues, it's the work environment, it's the job itself. Every step of the way is a first impression. You've got to get it right.
Yeah, it could easily be 6 different people, couldn't it, that are involved in that process.
Yeah, every step, that first week, you're meeting your team, you're getting a lay of the office, whatever. Second week, you're meeting other people in the business. All these different first impressions add up. And if you're not measuring it, you're not going to know what's going right or wrong. But you're also not going to be able to fix it as well.
Now, we're going to be doing an onboarding special later in the year, and we've got an expert on that their company's involved in all of that. So that's going to be a key thing. We're also going to look at performance management in the next session on this next month, because again, that can have positive or a negative impact on that. If you could stop sharing there then on that one. It's interesting that I don't have control over that because I normally have control over everything.
You gave me control.
I know. From there. So I'm just going to dive to your, first of all, to your LinkedIn page. So this is one that you've got featured attached at the top. So obviously every quarter you're updating this. So this is the 5-page PDF that you were talking about. So you can get this from Justin's website, but to show this to everyone, those hiring manager insights with all those data points and that information, month by month breakdown. You've got the final results in here. I haven't got my glasses. What's the final results about, Jay?
That is each question broken down month by month and its performance.
Brilliant. Okay, so so I can see there they're well prepared for the interview. So April 93.1, May was the star month 95.4, but it's dropping off again in June. So we'll keep an eye on that one.
I might actually mention something there. I've seen this consistently across Australia, across the UK. Doesn't matter where I look at the data. The third month of every quarter is typically 9 times out of 10 the worst performing month.
Yeah, look at this. It's gone from 93. So the company, team and culture were explained and how I'd fit in. 93.3 in May, but dropped down to 89.5 in June. So what do we think that is?
Almost every data point at the third month of every quarter drops off. It's astonishing. I don't know whether it's consultants thinking that we've got to chase the some or not all, or companies are putting their foot on the brake at the end of a quarter. I wish I had an insight into why it happens, but the data consistently shows me that the third month of every quarter, this might be just something for agencies to be aware of, that they might be able to influence, because I don't have any insight into why this happens other than the fact that it does.
Okay, well, maybe we do a few interviews with some of your clients to see their thoughts and views. I mean, my immediate reaction was typical recruiter, it's like the quarter's pretty much done as a perm consultant. If you're in the first or second week of June, you're done. So your
Yeah.
brain's not on June, you're on July, August, September, and you should always be looking ahead. But are they cutting corners in June and around
Are they
the June?
sandbagging?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's not as good on there. But like you say, we don't have the reasons. We just know that happens. Post placement insights as well. So again, loads of information there. So the hiring manager review of the candidate, but that's an interesting
Yes.
one.
Yes. That's a whole other session to go through the post-placement data and have a
Okay.
look at contractors versus perm candidates being treated differently. We see that the different expectations or the different, I guess, mindsets of what the candidate thinks versus what the hiring manager thinks of where both are at in those first 30 days. The data shows up something different every time. It's fascinating.
Okay. Right. I'm gonna pick out
They're
the
not they're
headlines.
not always they're not always on the same page.
No, I bet. So again, giving people key takeaways. So positive signs that the market's turning. You must prepare your hiring managers for the interview. Yeah, that briefing on there. The
Yes.
data is your point of difference. Use it and shine and chase the feedback. So just those 4 points, if they just focused on those without actually doing any of the other work, would make a difference, wouldn't it?
Yep.
So this is Justin's, as you can see, it's in the featured one there. It was the UK one. That's where I popped up, and that'll obviously get updated. We've then got here, so I'm assuming it's in the resources in the website that people can just access. So you don't have to be an actual customer of yours to access that.
No, you can just download the report. I'll get your information obviously come through. We do capture that, of course. And I might give you a call and ask you what you thought of the data, etc., and how you might use it. But no, anyone can download the reports. I upload them every quarter once they're complete, which is typically the end of the first week of each quarter. Put all the data together, write it up. It's there to use.
Lovely. So I'm sticking that in the details as well, because you're as bad as me, you give everything away. But it's so important.
We don't give the platform away, though.
Not the platform, but no, the resources. It's the same as us.
Not that it's expensive. Yeah, but no, I think these are valuable insights to make the industry aware of this is the impact it is having. And you can have greater impact by also measuring this yourself. And I think the data that we shared today clearly shows it does make a difference. And you can make a difference, more importantly, when you have this information at hand to go have those conversations with your clients.
Yeah. So start having those conversations, gathering the data if you haven't got it. If you're looking at it and you're going, no way in hell I'm doing all of that, reach out to Justin, because this is something that's all done automatically. What systems do you integrate with just like that within a couple of minutes? I know that it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. A couple of minutes. The world record's 1 minute. I don't think I can do that anymore. We've added a little bit more configuration in since then. But yeah, look, the configuration between the two, the ATS and our platform, literally takes less than 10 minutes. But we're integrated with Bullhorn for Salesforce, Vincere, Loxo, JobAdder, and I'm forgetting one. Who am I? Oh, Mercury.
All right, XRM. Yeah, fabulous. Okay, so if you're on any of those, you got no issues whatsoever.
No, it's the easiest setup at all. We train your team on all the data and how to use it, and we support you the whole entire way, and we'll give you insights. We look at your data and go, right, here's what we're seeing. Go action this. We constantly running training sessions of different ways to use the data across the platform. But yeah, a lot of the dashboards are very intuitive. So yeah, it's just understanding then how you can use it thereafter, which is, as I've shown here today, some of the things that you can do. This is honestly just scratching the surface of what it all does. But I think the hiring managers, if an agency really wants to make an impact to placement numbers, this is where you can do it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just impact placement numbers, it impacts the relationships with your clients and the perception they have of you in terms of the value you bring to them. I've come up with, what do you think of this, Angela? I've come up with this different kind of, how we always say we want to be a partner. We partner with our clients. I think that's old and forgotten. I think there's little value in that phrase. I think what you should be aiming to achieve is to be seen as a part of their business.
Oh, okay. That works.
Yeah,
we always said that we want to be part of your HR team, yes, and be seen as
yeah,
part of the HR team. So
yeah.
I'm totally on board with that.
Now, if you
It
think
comes
about it, just think about it. We say that recruitment's a lot like dating and all. I mean, everything can be related back to dating, right?
Oh, we were doing
But
so well, Justin. We got to the hour and we hadn't got
if
off
you
to
think about it,
it.
partners come and go.
Oh,
This is why you don't want to be a partner with your clients. Partners come and go.
ah,
But if you're a part of them, think of it, it's family. You're a part of that family. You can't just get rid of family.
I mean, you can try, but you
I mean, you can.
usually it's illegal.
It's basically it. But it's a stronger bond. It's a stronger relationship. And that I
Love
think should
that.
be the aim. Yeah.
Love that. Let's finish there. I think that's perfect. So we'll be back in a month. These are RI sessions, and like you say, there's so much that we can share and help and support with. So we've said two. I can see us doing this once a month, Justin, to be honest, and picking on a different element and a different relationship each time. But we'll be back next month with performance management, because this is now part of the system as well, which everyone was asking for, because I get asked it all the time. People see it as a negative. It's like you put someone on performance management. No, that's a myth. Performance management is all the time, every time, to get the best out of your people. And that's what we're here for. So we'll be back next month. Thanks ever so much. Looking forward to it already. See ya.
Thank you very much, Angela.
Bye-bye.